today I'm joined by Rebecca Louise, who is a celebrity fitness trainer. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, thank you so much for joining as well. Now, you have a very interesting story because I believe when you were a teenager, you were struggling with some issues, right? Maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Health and fitness has become such a big part of my life. And I really feel that it's because of a personal experience. So when I was around 16, 17 years old, I was getting really badly bullied at school. And it was something that, you can't control. And one thing that I could control was what I was eating. And that really took a toll on my body. I got down to about 86 pounds. So I'm 107 pounds right now, 5'2.5". So being 86 pounds was tiny. I was losing my hair, I had bad complexion, and I really didn't have any energy. So it was a very traumatic time for me and something that I've really had to work hard to overcome.
Wow, Rebecca, that is something that I think many teenagers, especially girls and young women, face on a daily basis. The self-image, and especially with things like Instagram that constantly just remind us how we're supposed to look and be fit and beautiful. So you feel all that pressure, and then of course you're having to live through that. So what is maybe a very poignant message that you would give to young ladies that are out there that are struggling with various issues around anorexic, bulimic, or other types of self-perception issues?
Yeah, and the biggest thing that I can say is that you want to be able to give energy, light, and, just give positive vibes back to the world. And that's where I was at. And I wasn't doing that. I wasn't able to be a role model. I wasn't giving back because of the way that I was treating my body. So I realized that that food was fuel and that I could get energy from food. And when I started to look after myself, I started to feel happier. I started to feel healthier. And I was able to do all the things that I wanted to do. Because when you're constantly thinking about what you're going to eat next and if you should eat and if you should throw it up, it really is very time consuming and it takes over your whole life. So for me, it came to a point where I was like, I am just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I decided to change so that I could be an example for other people. So I think if you think of what you could do for others rather than, keep being you the victim and putting, negative energy towards you, I think you can really start to change your mindset into thinking about what you could do for the future.
I love your message because I think what you're saying is that change, first and foremost, has to be internal. When we make that intentional decision to say, whatever I'm doing, it's not working. I need to change. And it's going to be fairly difficult. It's going to force me to go outside of my comfort zone. But I'm going to do it because I realize that unless I do this thing for myself, I'm not going to change anything. I'm going to be stuck perpetually where I am. And I love your story of how you chose to step outside. And you mentioned things like your diet, for example, because you're in the area of fitness, you probably know that we can exercise all we want, but if we don't address the fundamental of what we eat and how much we eat, it doesn't matter how many hours you work out in the gym. It's just not going to produce the kind of results. So tell us a little bit about how you transitioned from your personal struggles to being a certified professional trainer, and how do we change our mindset in that shift?
I think I was fed up with being the victim, and it was like, right, now is the time to put your big girl pants on and start to make a difference in the world. And I think I didn't want to keep sucking energy from other people. And it has to be, you're right, it's that internal decision inside that was like, okay, enough is enough. And it didn't just happen overnight. I started to eat again, on a regular basis, but I probably wasn't feeding myself the best in nutrition. I was working out excessively and didn't realize that, working out all the time, doing like a bunch of cardio isn't going to get you the results. So when I started to really train properly, do strength training, have the right amount of protein, not be scared of carbs. That's the thing. It's like people are like, don't eat any carbs. And then I started to understand with working with an amazing nutrition company is that, carbs are for energy and they're actually going to help you when you're working out. And as I started to feed my body and started to do strength training, I started to see a difference in my body. I started to get the results that I wanted. I started to become stronger. I started to get abs. I started to get definition. And so for me, I was like, wow, like I found the solution. Now it's time for me to help other people. And that's really where it led into becoming a personal trainer, going on and coaching people all over the world, and really making a difference in other people's lives.
That's fantastic. And I think you bring up something really interesting, because there is this myth that's out there that you should not eat carbs whatsoever. You should do whatever you can to eschew that. But what you're saying is, and I just want to make sure we balance it out, is that if you are in fact doing the right type of exercise regimen, which is around strength plus cardio, that's when you get the best results. And for you to do that, you have to have the right nutrition, and that nutrition is the right combination of protein, carbohydrate, amino acids to be able to actually support that. Now again, you don't want to overconsume where you're not able to burn that off, but it's supporting the activities that you're trying to do. So can you go into a little bit of the nuts and bolts of the nutrition? And so for the kind of exercise somebody should consider, what should they be eating?
Yeah, so I have a motto. It's 20% is fitness, 80% is nutrition, and 100% is your mindset. So if you're working out on a daily basis, like for example, my app Burn has 28-minute workouts each day, and on a Sunday it's a rest day, a nice stretch. And we do cardio to Pilates to kickboxing to weight training, everything to kind of mix it up. And so throughout the day, if you're wanting to have nutrition, you got to have a healthy breakfast that's got to include, good fats, carbohydrates, protein. Exactly the same for lunch and dinner, having that balanced meal, having your carbohydrates, your protein, and your complex carbs, right? And then also I have 3 protein snacks throughout the day in between those meals. So for me, I'll eat anything between 100 and 110 grams of protein per day. I don't count calories, because you could have a Coke Zero and some tofu. And if you're counting calories, then you're going to go for the Coke Zero. But really, it's the tofu that's going to give you the protein and give you the results that you want. So I always say the palm of your hand is the protein. A nice handful of vegetables is with your arms apart, with your hands apart. And then if you put your hand in a fist, that's the size of complex carbs that you want for your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner. And if you run by that, it keeps it really simple. You don't have to go and measure your food or your macros on your micros. And that's how I like to run it, because I'm not going to get the scale out every day. I want something that's nice and easy and that I can maintain. So that's really what I teach my clients to.
So this is a really important point, because other programs will get into the granularity of the measurements and all these various things that frankly is quite tiresome. Here you're saying that your approach is very easy and intuitive, and actually makes it so that you don't have to worry about those things. Let's talk about something which is very important, is even if you have a plan in place and people are using your Burn app as an example, what do you suggest or recommend to the listeners around motivation? So perhaps maybe they can stick with it during the New Year's resolution, but after, let's say, January's over, they go back to reverting back to their old lifestyle and behavior and eating patterns. What do you recommend?
So that's interesting, because for me, New Year's resolutions, everybody wants to lose weight. They join the gym. It's super busy at the beginning of the year. And then by the time, March comes around, the gyms are empty. So motivation and keeping people on track is retention. That's the hardest part. But what we do is we have a new 30-day calendar that comes out every single month. So it's a brand new set of workouts. They can go through every single workout. It ticks off their progress. So that's something that keeps them on track. They're actually able to share recipes, their workouts. They get points for all of the things that they do, and they can spend those points in our store because they'll turn into money. So we like to reward people for their hard work. And anybody who's not using the app or is just getting started on fitness, it's thinking about the end goal. So what is the result that you want in the future? And put a start and an end date on it. So if you're looking to lose 10 pounds, it's not going to happen in a week. You have to know that some weeks you're going to lose pounds, some weeks you're going to maintain, some weeks the scale might even say that you've gone up a pound. But it's looking at it on an overall basis of how you're going to progress. so many people they feel like they're stuck. I get this, like, oh, I feel like I'm stuck. Well, it's not that they're stuck. They just haven't decided to take the first step forward in getting those results. So as soon as you decide, hey, I'm going to make it happen, your brain is going to be on the right path. And for me, that's the most exciting, part about working with anybody, is when they start to understand that, hey, I'm on this journey. I'm going to get the result. It's not going to happen overnight, but as long as I'm consistent, I'm going to get there. And that's really exciting to see.
Yeah, I think, again, you're bringing up a really excellent point, is that many times, especially when it comes to health and fitness, we usually tell ourselves we want to lose X amount of pounds, or we want to fit into a particular outfit or dress. But what you're talking about is setting realistic expectations. So being aspirational, but at the same time, making sure that it is attainable within a certain realistic duration. And what you're saying is you've embedded a gamification or habit forming incentives into the app itself, so that people feel like they are chipping away. That goal is much closer than they think. And the fact that they're not getting, one of the things that happens with exercise or anything is fatigue and boredom. So by having a 30-day set of workouts that's different, that's fresh, and it's new, it makes it more interesting, makes it more challenging. Not to mention it's shocking our body, and that's really when our body starts to grow strength as well as to lose weight. So fundamentally, you're talking about positive habit forming. So give us a little bit more around your philosophy around how do we change our mindset? Because you said 100% of our success really has to do with our mindset. So what can people do on a daily basis that can be applicable, not just for health and fitness, but their lives?
Totally. So if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. Right? That's just the way it goes. So if I can get people to understand that anything is possible and that their goals are in reach, it's all about how you think about things. And a lot of times I find that people play the victim. It's like, well, I wish I could do this, or I really want to be able to do this, but. And I don't like the word but. I always like to use the word and. So one thing that I do is, if I'm having one of those days where I'm like, oh my goodness, everything's going wrong, I'm not getting results, I'm getting frustrated, I just take a moment to be like, okay, let's just take a rain check here, Rebecca, on those feelings, and write down 5 things that I'm grateful for. It could be as simple as I'm breathing today. I've got all my arms and legs. I've got a roof over my head. I've got 2 lovely dogs. So you have to come back to, okay, my life doesn't really suck. It's just the way that I'm looking at it that sucks. So many times, people wish for things and they want things, but it's about hard work. It's about hard work, and if you put in the work and the effort, you're gonna get those results. So find a community that can keep you on track, that keeps you excited, that you can give back to. And at any time where you're feeling like, you're being negative or it's not working, the first thing you want to do is to give to somebody else. Give. Make an impact on somebody else, because that will automatically change your mindset.
Well, you don't miss words, do you? Because I think one thing that's clearly being communicated is that you don't sugarcoat it to people. One of the things that I think people tend to do is they do very much have a kind of a victim mindset. Oh, poor me, I'm overweight, I'm just not very good looking, or whatever, I'm not very popular. And it kind of spirals downward. And what you're saying is, hey, you can control this. This is all within your power. And as a practical step, you're suggesting that we think positively. As a matter of fact, actually, the book that I'm reading recently is all around positive thinking. It's amazing. Before an interaction, before a meeting, before whatever it is that you're going to have with someone else, when you think positively, you think about indwelling in something, a memory or something that was really something that is positive and you cherish, then when you do interact with somebody or when you do partake in a particular activity, the result is incredible. You take it with stride, even if there's failure. And I love the fact that it is not a once in a blue moon thing, but on a daily basis, we have to be grateful. That's a great message. Now, I believe you mentioned that, did you climb Mount Everest? Is that true?
This is something that I'm planning for 2020. So I'm just about to start my training. I've just spoken to the guide that I'm going to be going up with, which is really exciting. So we are now in the process of doing all the training, getting everything together. So it's definitely a big goal. It's definitely something that scares me. But what I think of is, well, people have already done it. So if they can do it, so can I. So yes, it scares me, but I know it's possible.
Good for you. Good for you. And I love the fact that you keep on pushing yourself to challenge yourself. Now, I want to kind of tie in Mount Everest and your upcoming trip to climate change. How does what you're focusing on, which is on health and fitness and wellness, and now even into ventures, how does that all tie into climate change from your perspective?
Absolutely. Well, Mount Everest is like it has to be one of the most challenging activities to do. So personally, it's going to be very physical, and I'm going to need the right nutrition. It's going to really test my body. You know, I can go in the gym. I can hip thrust 355 pounds. Like, I can do all of that stuff. This is going to take my physical activity and the demands of my nutrition plan to a whole other level. And what better place to go and test your physical capabilities than Mount Everest? The other great thing that I am excited about learning more of is everything that is happening at Mount Everest at the moment. It is big time in the news. This has been the most crowded, 2019 will go down in history as the most crowded mountain that's ever come across. And so I really want to address the issues of things that are happening up on the mountain with climate change. One, that we know that there's a lot of trash and rubbish that is down on base camp. So I want to be able to see that with my own eyes so that I have a solution. Because we can all go, when you're sort of you're looking at things from the outside and be like, why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? And they're blaming other things. But you're not really there. It's like when people go to an event or a music concert and they complain about the experience or they complain about the value that they didn't get. I'm like, well, you weren't really in everything. You weren't behind the scenes. You weren't there. You don't know everything. So for me, if I really want to make a difference on climate change, I need to go to see it with my own eyes so that I can provide a solution rather than just looking at something and judging it. And I feel like this is what a lot of people do as well, is they'll look at something, judge it, and actually not do anything about it. So I want to be the difference. I want to go there. I want to see what's going on. I want to make a personal judgment for myself and then see how I can make a difference to the mountain.
By the way, I was going to say that I can see why you're a tremendous coach, because like I said before, you don't sugarcoat it. You tell people for what it is, and you really, frankly, kick them in the ass to get the work done. So I love that attitude. And you're right. As far as Mount Everest and other high peaks around the world, is that because we're starting to see a rise in average temperatures, the areas or the altitudes that used to be completely frozen start to defrost and soften. And one of the issues that they're finding is, aside from the trash that these hikers have left, is that human feces and things that used to be frozen is starting to melt away, and it's being exposed, as well as people that have died and were frozen years ago. Now you can actually find them, and they're thawing as well. So it's having huge implications, which means that if Mount Everest, one of the tallest mountains in the world, is starting to melt, what does that mean for the rest of the world? And let me actually turn the question a little bit differently from your perspective. Is when the air is dirtier, when we have more severe hurricanes, tornadoes, and floods, when we have more wildfires, and when all of these things attribute to dirtier air, land, oceans, and everything else, including the food ecosystem, how does that affect our health and wellness?
Wow, I mean, it's gonna affect our health and wellness tremendously, and I think that's why it's so important. You're really addressing the issues of climate change around the world, and we just need to educate more people. I mean, eventually, especially with the foods and everything that we're putting into our body, it's going to be affected by climate change. So it's for us right now to make the decision to help other people and educate them so that we can do something about it. Because over time, our food is going to be saturated. It's going to have more bacteria in it. It's going to have more pesticides in it. So it's really going to make a difference on our nutrition. especially because nowadays when you go and buy like an apple from the store, it doesn't have the same nutrition value that it did 20 years ago, which is why a lot of people supplement. They use supplements because you just don't get the same nutrition that you did in food, 20 years ago. So I feel like that's going to keep on going, and supplements are going to become even bigger. Exactly what's in that multivitamin or what's in, the protein shakes. So it's going to make a difference to people's food, maybe what they consume on a daily basis. That's just such a sad thing to think about, that we're losing the nutrients from our foods. So I'm really excited to make a change and to make a difference and to really highlight the aspects of what's happening. Like you said, if it's happening on Mount Everest, where is it happening around the rest of the world?
By the way, in a practical way, I'm sure many of us that are listening probably experience where they purchase some strawberries at the store or tomatoes at the store, and they bring it back and it looks great, but as soon as you bite into it, it's tasteless. Has absolutely no characteristics of what it's supposed to be. And this goes back to the fact that the land is stripped of nutrition. And then on top of that, you have the supply chain distribution network that allows for things to be harvested before it's really ready and ripe. So a lot of issues that's going to only get amplified. I love your general philosophy and your approach. Now, tell us a little bit about your pop-up fitness camps, as well as any new updates regarding your app.
Yes, so we love to do workouts around the world. So whenever I travel, I was just in Japan, we did a little pop-up fitness workout. I just like to meet the audience. I like to meet people who've been affected. We went to Ecuador, we had 60 people turn up in a park that we did a workout with. We had 160 people in Prague. So wherever I'm traveling to in the world, whether it's for work or fun, or maybe I'm filming some workouts, what I'll always do is I'll find a park. I don't even know the country. I'll find an area and I'll say, girls, we're making a Facebook event. Meet me at 3 o'clock here in this park, and I'll just see who meets up. I've got my little speaker. I've got my yoga mat. It's really informal. I love it. It's not like a big production with ticket sales. It's just for me to have an opportunity, honestly, to say thank you, for the people that, have been following me and have been supporting me. So that is so much fun. We have a huge update that came out on the app. All the gamification, doing points, Android came out, has just come out as well. And there's just so many fun things that people can do. They can save their own unique link, send it to friends, get money just for getting them to sign up too. We have an amazing Facebook community group that's exclusive for our Burn members. And they're absolutely loving that right now. So we're always looking to improve the app and bring out more features for people to use that they need to stay on track. So we listen very carefully to what everybody needs. They wanted to be able to save their recipes. They wanted a shopping list. We gave them that. So it's amazing to watch this thing grow and to watch so many people get incredible results.
That's fantastic. And for those that are not familiar with your work, how can they follow you as well as get involved with some of these pop-up fitness camps?
Absolutely. So I'm on all the social media networks, Instagram and Facebook, Rebecca Louise Fitness. You can find me on YouTube as well. There's a bunch of free workouts. We post a new video every single week. You can find me there, Rebecca Louise. And if you want to check out the app, go to icanfeeltheburn.com.
So today I've been joined by Rebecca Louise, a celebrity fitness trainer. Rebecca, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.